Hey, what's going on, guys? FullFrontage here. Today, bringing you guys a Brawl Stars video, and I have some very special guests with me, Dani and Kim from the Brawl Stars team at Supercell. How are you guys doing?
I'm going great. Thank you for having me. I've been a familiar face already in these videos, but I'm really honored to be here with Kim because he's a special guest today. Like it's not like another community manager. Nobody wants to see me or Ryan again, right?
Oh, come on, Dani. Of course we do. Hey, I'm Kim. Hey, FullFrontage. How's it going?
Good, good. So, we are going to be talking about the esports in Brawl Stars for 2020 and maybe even further. I don't know. We have some really awesome questions lined up today. So the first thing is going to be when Brawl Stars was in early development, was the game created with the vision of esports, or was that something that kind of came on into play later on?
Go for it, King, because I wasn't even part of the
Yeah,
project before.
fair enough. Yeah, so I mean, we could see the potential for esports with Brawl Stars. We could see that quite early on. It was a little bit the same as we had with Clash Royale. And we have so many people that are passionate about esports, both within the company and also on the Brawl Stars team. So while we didn't really build the game with esports in mind, we could see the potential. So when we got closer to global launch, around a year ago, there was a strong push towards esports and to explore what esports means for Brawl Stars. So that's why we already had some activities in the first year of the game.
Right, and did that kind of coincide with what happened with Clash Royale, where the community kind of started to define and develop the esports scene a little bit, and then you guys just kind of took the community's engagement with the competitive side of it and just kind of implemented it into the game for Brawl Stars?
Yeah, some of it. I mean, the upcoming in-game challenge was very much inspired by the 20-win challenge we had for Clash Royale. But I also think in general we try to listen to the community a lot, and we've learned a lot from Clash Royale esports that we can apply to Brawl.
Awesome. So the next question kind of could be going inside with the 15 win challenge would be, how do you choose which maps in game mode order happens in competitive play?
Well, basically, I can start. We look at the maps and we see the possibilities. Like where actually, I have a good siege example. We're looking at the siege maps, and then there was one map that I forgot the name of it, but it's difficult. Like if you die in the center to get back on, so we feel that it's a unfair situation and it's not so fun to watch. So actually, like the fun factor, I think is one of the most important things for us. Like, can this map like put on a good match? Then I think it's something we take a lot in consideration.
Okay, is there any like individual game stats like from the public game that go into making that decision? Like, is there a certain spike in popularity when a certain map is out in a game mode that would potentially lead you to think that with that fun factor that this would be more fun to watch?
Yeah, it's that's for sure. Actually, the one stat that we will be looking at the most is how many brawlers are being played on a certain map, because we would like to see variety in brawlers, and we are not as big fans of maps that are totally one-sided, although sometimes it cannot be avoided. Game balance is really tricky with Brawl Stars because certain brawlers are just so strong on specific maps, and it's kind of tricky to you don't necessarily balance only for that. If we nerfed Bull because he's really strong on heist, then he would be really bad on every other map. So
Right.
or every other game type. So it's really tricky. But we want to provide variety, and we want to provide entertainment. I think that's really important. And of course, if there are maps that are downright competitively unviable, we want to avoid them.
Yeah,
Right.
one map that we love to watch is Minecraft Madness.
Yeah.
It's just because it's so fun. Like we don't really have like a really I don't know, factual reason or like very data centric reason. It's just because it's so fun to see people getting like run over by trains.
Yes. It's a great map. I think now that the trains were nerfed in one of the previous updates, I think it got a little bit less divisive. I think before that, a lot of people really hated that map. I think it's gotten a bit better now. But also, that map is also great because it has a unique mechanic, and it's the same with the launch pads, even though they might not be the most competitively viable kind of types of maps. We do like showing the variety that the game has and having that be a part of esports as well.
Are there any possibilities or plans to have a franchise-based league with organizations to allow in-game cosmetics like we see in Dota, Rainbow Six, hero skins like we see in Overwatch League? All the teams have like their logo and color palette onto skins for heroes in the game. Or I guess even without a franchise-based league, in-game cosmetics of teams supporting the Brawl Stars scene.
I would say that the possibility to have like something like that, I think it's yes, we do have. There is a possibility. We don't have anything concrete right now, but I think it's nice to promote teams that are like very how do you say, not favorites but loved by the community. If there's a team that has like a cool story that the community can relate, I think it's nice to bring it inside the game, things like that. But yeah, we don't have anything concrete right now.
Okay. Yeah, so I can speak a little bit to the part of the question about the franchising. I mean, that's kind of a separate topic altogether. Of course, Overwatch League is maybe the most kind of extreme version of this, where every team has its own set of skins in the game, and players can pick up those skins and represent their teams regardless of which hero they play and so on. It's pretty cool, and it's quite an undertaking they've done this way. Our team's quite small and our development resources are quite limited, so it would be quite overwhelming to do something like this just as a pure workload. But I do think the part where these two questions fit well together is that this does mostly make sense when you have a franchise system, and that's not the direction we're going for Brawl, at least in 2020. We'd like to try different things with esports, and we don't necessarily believe that the conventions that are true for PC game esports necessarily can be applied directly to mobile games. There's a lot of things that we've discovered already. Things like having shorter broadcasts, having broadcasts that don't have too many interruptions. If most people are tuning in on their phones because they also play the game on their phones, well, then they won't be sitting necessarily at home on their sofa. They will be sitting on the bus or on their commute or in a coffee break or whatever. And they won't have that much time to enjoy the content. So therefore we need to make sure that every minute counts. We need to make sure that any 5-10 minute block of content is really fun to watch. And that's something that's definitely different from PC and mainstream esports, if we call it that, where you will often see a 5-10 minute commercial break with no content. We just simply can't do that, or we try to avoid it at least. And similarly with the format for our competitions, we want to make sure that all players globally are involved, and that's our main goal. Like, our games are global games, and so our competitions should also be global. And for Brawl Stars, we're trying this like very community-centric approach, where everybody around the world can participate, even if they're not on a pro team. That's quite important to us, especially here in the beginning. Who knows what it means in the future? So like, it's kind of hard to predict what would happen several years down the line, but at least that's the direction we've chosen for 2020. I do believe that even with our open system, pro teams do have a certain validity. I think there's a lot of value that a pro team can bring also to a system like this. Being a part of the pro team means you have some security. It means you have talented staff around you. You have maybe more reach, maybe some coaching opportunities. Like there are lots of really cool things that pro teams will bring and will also be very valuable in this open system. So while the system isn't a franchised one, pro teams will still have a lot to say, and I'm quite sure that we will see some very well-known teams and faces on the top of the podiums.
So you just mentioned about this open format is enticing to organizations to get involved. Could you dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's value, at least for players, to be on organizations because they bring a lot of stability and so on. For the organizations themselves, I guess it's a matter of getting some exposure. We're putting a lot of focus on esports this coming year. We're gonna be promoting the championship in game. We're gonna have it's gonna be represented in game just by the fact that we will have monthly challenges. So it's gonna be quite visible. The championship will be quite visible, and we're gonna be promoting broadcasts, of course, and we're gonna ensure broadcasts are happening across many different languages. So so at least from a pure, I mean, exposure perspective, I guess there's something there. And I guess that would be the main motivator.
Yeah, and I mean, going off of that, like Brawl Stars was in the top 10 of most watched game content on YouTube for 2019, which is very impressive. Like out of all the games, Brawl Stars is in the top 10.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and I mean, our own YouTube channel is growing quite rapidly, and we are planning to broadcast our Brawl Stars Championship on the main YouTube channel.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So one of the questions I got from the community on Twitter was, will there be like profile badges that indicate success at events? So for example, like Nova players getting like a 2019 trophy on their profile, or the championship players who qualified from each region getting a badge on their profile.
They got a trophy.
That's true.
But yeah, I don't think we have any plans to, for now at least.
I think it would be nice.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. It's not a bad idea.
And I mean, there will be ways to customize. We are looking at different customization options relating to esports. So it's a topic that's very close to our heart. And I also think where the question comes from is like, how do you recognize those players? And I think this would be a great way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Supercell has been so inclusive in their esports ecosystem with purely open qualifiers for everybody for their major events. Can you talk about how this system came into place, and what about this system do you think will help grow the esports scene in 2020?
I think it's up to Kim.
Yeah, I mean, we have this vision for the game to be community driven. Like we want to listen to the community. Whenever we see, I don't know, fan art, when we see feedback, comments on Reddit, you name it, we read all that stuff, and we're inspired by it, massively inspired. And that has been kind of the drive for the game team from the very beginning, even before global launch, even before Dani and I joined the team. And that vision is something that we wanted to carry into esports. So try to think about like, how do you take a game where the game development team is really into listening to the community and wanting to be there for everybody and want everybody to have a voice. How do you represent that in esports? And that's kind of where the idea came from with this open system. And I guess you can also say that some parts of esports, when you look to other games, can be seen as, you know, difficult to understand or difficult to, like, how do I get in? How do I qualify? How do I be part of this? And it's not always so logical how to get there, and it might not be so easy. We have lots of younger players, lots of players playing Brawl Stars that don't know anything about esports but might still be really good and might be able to compete. And we want them also to feel like this system is for them. So we don't want to exclude anybody just because they don't know how really advanced competitions work. So we want to keep it simple. And the same thing for viewers, by having a monthly frequency, you could set your watch or your calendar after our broadcasts, after our qualifications rounds, and that way it should be easy to follow, easy for competitors and easy for viewers, and that's kind of that's what went into creating this like very simple structure, and very open structure. Yeah, I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for, if that answers the question, but that was our thinking going into this.
I have a question for King.
Uh-huh.
Because like one of the questions I receive a lot is like the age restriction. So
Yeah.
could you talk about a bit about that, only so they can understand why we are like preventing people below 16 to sign up?
Yeah, we have kind of two age restrictions that are relevant for the game. The first one is 13 plus. That's like the official age restriction for playing the game. And then another age restriction that we have applied has to do with esports, and there, for our official esports competitions, we say that people have to be 16 or older. And that has to do with a few things. A lot of these competitions involve going somewhere abroad, flying to another country, another continent, maybe, around the world. We feel like a certain level of maturity is needed for that. Although we do allow, guardians or parents to join if there's a strong wish for this. We do make room for that in our competition, but we don't really feel that that we can defend sending young teenagers to other countries, playing this competition, at least as long as esports is still a bit niche and it's a new thing for our games. Another reason is that's a little bit more of a legal kind of angle, where when you earn money in any way, in any capacity, it is trickier the younger the person is earning the money.
Right.
And so there's a certain point where, of course, 16 plus isn't really legal age, but it's still at a level of maturity where it's easier to sort out things like payment, assume that people, they have an ID of some sort. Maybe it's not so tricky to get, I don't know, a passport or like other practical things that are needed for competition. So there are really a lot of aspects to it, but it is a matter of responsibility and making sure that we're doing the right thing for the players. And of course, we recognize that there are lots of like 14, 15-year-olds that want to compete, and they are really upset that they can't join our competitions, and we want them to join, but we also want to make sure that the framework is really strong around these players, and that can best be done with some age restrictions.
Would there be any consideration for an online only event for like those younger players or players who might not feel like they're good enough, or who don't make that cut for the monthly larger events, like sort of smaller online tournaments that can just kind of happen through in-game challenges of some sort?
Players younger than 16 can still participate in the championship challenges. The in-game challenges are open to everybody playing the game. You need to have 800 trophies on your account, total trophies, but that's the only restriction we placed there. So a younger player could play these challenges, get 15 wins. It would show up on their profile. They'd be able to prove to others that they're a strong player. And if you look to kind of third-party esports events or unofficial esports events, we don't have anything in our community tournament rules that say that players have to be at those events have to be 16 plus. So our community tournament rule set is 13 plus. So if somebody wants to put up a tournament without a prize pool, with a very small prize pool, and they will allow 13-year-old players to participate, that's okay with us. But we have to be a little bit stricter on our official events.
Right. I mean, we see community tournaments, a couple notable ones being Pro Brawl League and Brawl League Europe, and kind of expanding into that. And there's been official support from the community team in supporting those leagues, matching prize pools for Brawl League Europe, and even for Clash Royale, Clash Contender Series, and things like that. Is there any plan to kind of work with those organizers to go with maybe the 15-win challenge winners for those who can't go on to the World Championships?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We haven't talked about it so much, but I mean, if a like prominent, well-established third-party organization would come to us and ask if we could provide them, with some sort of confirmation whether certain players have gotten 15 wins and specifically to be used for the purpose of qualification, we are open to that idea. Of course, assuming that the players have already given their consent.
Of course, yeah.
But I mean, players, a lot of this will be visible on the player's profile, so it should be possible for the organizers to also make their own kind of assessment of that. But yeah, I think that's a really good way to do it, and I hope that the 15 wins of the Championship Challenge will provide more layers in competitive Brawl Stars.
Yeah, and from a community perspective from that, Dani, what are your thoughts in terms of having that public support out there for the community leagues and kind of helping them develop maybe their brand a little bit?
Yeah, it's not only about the brand, but I think it gives like a nice message, because we do receive some complaints where like sometimes if we have like a lot of European tournaments in a row, then some region can feel that they are not like being supported. And now like since we have like PBL, then we are saying out loud that we are supporting other regions if they have like a good idea, good structure. So I think it's all about like telling the message that we do support and we are happy if they have like a good idea and they want to build nice event for our players, then we are happy to support it.
Dani, Kim, thank you guys so much for taking the time and joining me today and answering all these questions. And I appreciate it, and I'm sure the community greatly appreciates this entire Behind Brawl Stars series as well.
And I think I appreciate also that actually the topic came from you. So thank you for suggesting that.
Yeah, thanks a lot for letting us be on here.
Yeah, no problem. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you guys have any other questions, let me know down in the comment section below. And stay tuned for more Behind Brawl Stars action. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more content. Click that notification bell for more videos. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out.
Yeah.
Bye.